please.
We are live.
Hello, Madridistas. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Be Real podcast. If you guys are new here, don't forget to smash the likes and subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 3K. Right, big up our sponsors. Manscaped, go check them out. LBI20, get 20% off and free shipping on manscaped.com. Big up our partners also from Fanatics. Go check them out. The link is in the description below. Official partners of Madrid and La Liga, probably the biggest sports apparel collection online. Go show them some love. Right. Also, if you guys didn't know, now you know this podcast and everything on LBR is officially powered by the Talksport Fan Network. Powered by the fans. It is the biggest sports radio station in the world. I'm pretty sure, most of you guys know what Talksport is about. Go show their YouTube, their socials some love. Right. And big up Sahil, man. We are back again. Champions League settings. It looked pretty grim, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. Our chances of, really being in contention for a top 8 spot, especially after the loss against Liverpool, wasn't it wasn't looking great, right? Compounded by the fact that we also lost to Lille and Milan at home, especially, was something that was, a bit alien to us. We are considered royalty, and rightfully so, reigning champions. People were, kind of writing home the narrative that this new format is to basically, give teams like us a real test of our own medicine, that is success. And I can confidently say that, although, we were kind of a transition season, I don't know if the casuals outside would really pay heed to it much, because, to them, we are an unstoppable juggernaut that never really lets up. So to them, this might look like another season that, Madrid keeps on winning. But we know what we had to deal with, and, how we have to navigate the iffy waters of what it has been August to, what we are at January, end of January almost, right? Almost Feb. So it wasn't plain sailing. But we are here. We are in with a shout to be one of the top ranked playoff sides. So that would basically give us a better matchup, and hopefully make it easier if we also win the final game in hand. But talk to me, Sahil. Salzburg at home should have been routinely easy, and it was. There were no surprises apart from maybe a 15-minute spell that Salzburg kind of showed their mettle.
Yeah, I mean, we got what we expected, really, because what we wanted was for Real Madrid to dominate and to win with a big scoreline, which would then definitely go on and help us somehow in securing a better position either for the playoffs or even possibly get into the top 8. Who knows?
Yeah.
But as far as our job is concerned, I think 5-0 is pretty good, considering our run in the Champions League has not been up to our usual standards this season. Like, I mean, you mentioned the format, and I'm sure the format encourages this sort of situation more. It's not just about us; it's about other top teams as well. Where even teams like Bayern and Dortmund, who now are their journeys have gone down to the wire, and they've got to fight for each point up until the last match day. So we've got not one dead rubber game in the last 2 game weeks, which was usually the case with the bigger teams in the older format. So that is one thing that as much as the new format is silly, it's also brought out the best, because again, which team wants to play two extra games for playoffs, right? So
Nobody.
yeah, so everybody with this schedule, anybody and everybody would want to avoid that situation where you end up outside the top eight and then you have to fight your way to, end up back into the contention for Champions League. So
100%.
I mean, at the beginning of the season, nobody would have thought that Madrid would end up here, but because it's a new format, you also wouldn't rule that out, because
Yeah.
our draw it was also not the toughest draw, but also
Yeah.
it was unpredictable, right? Because teams like Milan and I mean Dortmund did turn up. Milan turned up and they beat us, but Dortmund, we turned that around. But also we wouldn't have expected to lose Lille away, right?
Yeah.
And again, Liverpool was always going to be tough because of the form they're in the season.
hmm
But at the beginning of the season, you wouldn't have seen that coming. You wouldn't have seen such a revolution under Arne Slot. But given where we are now, 4 out of 7, so that puts us at 12 points. I think you've got to take what you've gotten and hope for the best in the final game week. I think if we can secure that playoff spot, it will be more than enough for now.
If we win the final game, right? So 9-24, right? Get the playoff spots, right? So if we
Yeah,
win the next game and if results go away, we could be looking at a better position than 16. That is realistically a possibility.
yeah, possibly.
Um,
Especially with
so
a good scoreline, right? Because goal difference comes into play with all these teams that are relying on now 12 and then eventually 15 points. So
100%,
yeah, that's
100%.
crucial.
We are just a point behind Bayern at the moment, and they just have one +1 goal difference compared to us. So everything's open, and everything is to play for. And to what you just mentioned, the new format also adds that little bit of jeopardy going into match day 6 and all the games being played at the match day 8, and all
Yeah,
games being played at the same time. But we had to, we knew what Salzburg were about. Salzburg were like champions for like I don't know, you know 10 times, I don't know, 5 times. They were champions for a long time, consecutively, down in Australia. I mean, down in Austria,
yeah,
but this year they have been having their own issues. They're what, fifth or something in the Austrian Bundesliga, and they weren't really exactly a side that would give us anything to ponder, really. The only win they had were away at Feyenoord. They have been thumped,
yeah,
really in the Champions League, left, right, and center. So this was a game that really fell into our lap to basically kind of build some confidence for our front three. I was a bit surprised by Carlo opting for the front three, especially with big games coming up in the next month or so. I was going to have the impression that maybe Carlo is looking to test out how he would set up against a better opposition, but I guess he had to give the big boys something to cheer about. And yeah, like Mbappe was mentioning earlier, he was saying that he hoped Rodrigo and Vinny and himself, like all would score and they would have a pretty good night out, and that's what they did, man. Um, Although Oscar Gluck, shout out to him, he was pretty decent on the ball, and even Nene was giving us a few problems down Mendy's side, and even I remember Sensio, kind of tasting a bit of adversity, dropping the shoulder and unleashing a couple of shots here and there. Um, but once Rodrigo, it was a bit fortunate, the whole play. But Vinny's switches are always going to be lethal. We have seen that countless times throughout his career with us. Um, Jude Bellingham trying to bring it down, and Rodrigo, man, let's talk about him first. He deserves all the praise that he's been getting.
yeah,
He's my favorite. I've mentioned this n times on here, and it makes me so happy that He's getting some flowers and deserved flowers at this moment in time. He apparently has a goal or assist every 93 minutes, which isn't bad, Sahil, for someone who is deemed not too good enough to go
Yeah,
head to head with some of his peers in the same club he plays for.
yeah, and it's a no-brainer really with Rodrigo. He's invaluable to where we are as
Mm,
a club. I mean, any other club in the world would beg for a player like Rodrigo. But
mm,
the fact that he is the first one to get dropped, the fact that he is the easiest one to
yeah.
drop among our forwards, just goes
Mm.
to show how much of a pool of talent there is at Ancelotti's
And how much of a
disposal.
team player he is, Sahil.
That as well,
Mm,
because again, he's not as big an ego as say Vinicius or Mbappe, and he's also not had the kind of continuity
yeah.
all goals or assists as the other two this season. Like Mbappe,
Hmm.
he's had terrible games, but he's also ended up scoring in some of those games.
Yeah.
Rodrigo not always, because he's kind of isolated on that right hand side, and today he just absolutely showed us quality.
But
And
if you remember, Sahil, when Vinny and Mbappe were having issues of their own, and especially when Vinny was injured,
Mhm.
Rodrigo was the one carrying the side and was looking
Yes,
like the
he is
brightest spark.
sort of the link between the two, you would say,
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, because he manages to link well. His connection is almost inseparable with Vinny, and when he does link with Mbappe, it's just gorgeous. And today, that was the case with Bellingham actually, where he gave a ball and Bellingham returned it with a back heel, and he just curls it around what's his name, Blaswick, to score that goal. So, and the first one, obviously, like you said, fell fortunately to him, but the ball from Vinny was absolute class. Like, it's no coincidence that it falls to him, because the first step of that falling to him is him being in that position itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's chasing something that's probably not going to fall to him. The same with Mbappe going on to press the keeper, which again I will praise him for, because that's not something he was doing at the beginning of his career. So these are players that have progressed from where they were at the beginning of the season. Rodrigo in terms of
Yeah.
his finishing and his end product, and
Yeah.
Mbappe in terms of the work rate he puts in off the ball, and that's just something that's incredible to see progress. More so in Rodrigo's case, because Mbappe is, everybody's always going to be talking about Mbappe. And Rodrigo is, he even makes a point with this celebration, where
Yeah.
the you can't see me thing. So he's basically telling the fans that he's not invisible, ironically, right? Because
But the
he's the first one they leave out when things are not going well. And even when things are going well, he is the one who's least credited for all our, uh for everything that
100%. Yeah, I get it. I get it. See, the thing is, Rodrigo, he deserves the limelight, right? But at the same time, there is like even his biggest fans would admit that when the team cries out for a hero, especially in the Champions League and whatnot, in a big game, he steps up, he delivers, right? But
yeah.
in the games that we expect him to be a bit more prominent, he takes a back seat. He lets others have center stage, and that has affected Rodrigo's stocks, quite a bit, and his overall impression as, not maybe being on the same level as Mbappe or Vinny, but actual fans, fans who watch him week in, week out, people who go to the games, people like us who never miss a game, know what Rodrigo's about. And without Rodrigo's balance and Rodrigo's, selflessness, especially, his involvement and basically his desire to be part of whatever the team wants him to be, right? And
Yeah.
and contributing to the direction the team is particularly headed into, uh, given the phase of the season. He just always comes up clutch. And um, I should also add, people were kind of questioning whether he had lost his, finishing boots, especially, people in the chat and even myself used to wonder, why his shots are always, being straight at the keeper, and at a height, pretty easy uh, to be blocked. And now he's basically, gone back a couple of years into the kind of lethal finishing that we associated with him, and
Yeah. The
there's
kind
a
of
reason
finishing
why
he actually displayed on his debut, in his Champions League debut, where he scored a hat trick. Remember? Galatasaray.
against Gala, yeah.
So,
Um,
yeah, I mean,
that's
this thing, man. It's you that sort of finishing doesn't go away with time. Like you can't unlearn that sort of.
confidence is a big confidence is
It's
a
all
big factor.
confidence. It's all mental. And as far as him being a team player goes, and as far as him blending into whatever the team needs him to be goes,
Yeah,
I think that just speaks more of his character and who he is as a person than more than anything, because he isn't this big ego who always wants center stage, and he isn't someone who demands attention. So unless that sort of attention goes to him from either the manager or the fans, he isn't going
yeah,
to ask. Like I'm sure he's fully confident in his abilities as a footballer, but like even say with set pieces, right? For me personally, I think he is the best out of the front three when it comes to pens and free kicks. But is he going to take the ball and demand that he takes them? I don't think so, unless the ball comes to him.
yeah.
So
We need characters like him, and
yeah, and that sort of thing, yeah,
I,
selflessness.
I'll be very honest. Like eventually, if he does leave, in the future for game time, and at what he's 24 now, so time is really on his side at the moment, but it wouldn't be the case in maybe 2-3 years. So um, if he does leave, people would then realize what Rodrigo was about, and what he gave this side, and um, there's a reason that whenever we look into an incredibly successful season, like he is in one of those highlight reels in the games that was a turning point. Um, but yeah, man, Rodrigo out of the way, brilliant performance. In my opinion, he was man of the match because he set things up on the way. When
Yeah,
he
I
won
just
the official
didn't
man of the
get why
match.
he didn't let
Mm,
him be on there for the hat trick. Like
mm,
he let Mbappe be on in the previous game to complete, to even have a chance at completing his hat trick, but
yeah.
Rodrigo doesn't get that. So I just think that's not fair. Like
Mm,
no, being not fair, just get pissed. Okay, like you can leave him on. You can
yeah.
take Vinny off. I think you can, but then Vinny's just come off a suspension or something, so he wants to play as well.
Mm.
So
And when he's gonna miss against, he's gonna be missing the game against Valladolid
yeah,
at the
that too.
weekend. So,
That too.
but yeah, Rodrigo, all in all, good performance. We should talk about the assist, Jude Bellingham, and very Zidane-like nonchalance, the way he moves, and now the way he basically sets up those kind of assists that Zidane, like Zidane, and very old school, man. The moment I laid eyes on Jude, I knew this was a player unlike no other. A guy that is driven to make his team succeed. The guy who pulls the team out of holes that possibly not many in the history of football can, but yet he's constantly judged on his GNA, constantly judged on how he basically has no visible impact for the casuals. But Jude Bellingham, man, there's a reason why he has the most assists in the Champions League ever since he made his debut for us. um this man just goes from strength to strength every season. A guy who is what 20, 21, being looked up to by his senior peers is a testament to his attitude, is a testament to his drive, is a testament to the quality he possesses. If you were all words and not much action, people wouldn't really pay too much heed to what you demand from them. But Jude
Yeah,
Bellingham backs his talk up with his incredible presence, in the field, and just the way he is that guy you look up to when you need a big game player to step up. And Jude Bellingham, man, the assist speaks for itself. Like I needn't wax lyrical too much about it, but yeah, man, it just is an absolute pleasure to watch. He's the kind of player that would force people to go to stadiums, force people to turn on the TV and switch on the game.
yeah.
Um, but there's too many in our side, and I'm blessed that we have a huge arsenal of options up top, especially. But yeah, man, Jude Bellingham clearly deserves all the praise. So
Yeah, definitely. And he's again a completely different personality in itself, and
mm,
somebody who's come from humble beginnings, somebody who again he is aware of how capable he is as a footballer,
yeah,
and that just goes to show in the way he, you know, uh, keeps himself and in the way he is, his composure during games, and just you can see it in his body language. He's so confident
mm,
in his stride, and
mm,
the moment he gets into his rhythm, you know that the game is going, it's already slipping away from the opposition. So we've spoken about this ability of his from the very beginning of the season. It's just about balance, where if you play him in a deeper position, then the goals and assists don't come along, and then people are always talking about Jude because he had this fantastic goal tally in his first season, which is
yeah,
you mentioned it. It's very unfair to expect that of him this season because it is a different role, and for the most part, he is playing in a deeper midfield position. But in games like tonight, when he does have proper holding midfielder behind him, and he does have Ceballos running the hard yards for him, like I don't mind it in games where Jude is the running heartbeat of the team, but he has to run. He has
yeah,
to run every time we lose the ball. But also, I like the privilege of him not having to do that, him
mm,
not necessarily having to run 8
yeah,
10 kilometers every game, because that, I mean, at the end of the day, that will net take away from his output in the final
mm,
third. That
mm,
will allow him the extra, you know 2 or 3 kilometers to really rest on his pace and link up like he did against Salzburg,
yeah.
like he did before this as well. So I think Ancelotti has struck right balance with Jude, and yeah, it just again goes to show how well rounded of a player he is.
It's it,
Every performance of his, not just this one.
100%. It's human to think that Jude Bellingham was required deeper, especially when Cruz was out of the equation, beginning of the season. But Carlo and his staff, pick up Francesco Davide and everyone else, they just quickly realized that having Jude up top is a far better solution for this team to take. Because having a deeper completely negates his brilliance up top, and we
Yeah,
direly need it. Mbappe, Vinicius tend to drift to the flanks, and that's where they want their starting positions to be. Or you can see them in pockets centrally, but it isn't really where they uh, fall
excel.
back to when
Yeah,
yeah fall back to when they need some comfort. But Jude Bellingham is that guy. He's constantly on the shoulder. He's almost like a striker. He just is, man. Like, I'll be very honest here. Like, I wasn't around. You weren't around when Zidane was, at his peak,
yeah,
and
no,
many people do believe he wasn't really at his peak with us. His peak was really for Juve. And I've gone back and watched, a few games of Zidane, especially the run in the Champions League is an incredible game against Bayern in the semis and whatnot. Uh, there is no denying that, technically Zidane was a lot more gifted. He just looked a, a bit too godlike
nonchalant.
compared to
Yeah,
Jude, a bit too godlike compared to Jude. But um, Jude Bellingham's athleticism and Jude Bellingham's desire to track back and desire to put in a shift, clearly gives him an edge. Like, I don't know if that would fetch him the Ballon d'Ors that a Zidane, or the iconic status, uh, even like what 20 years post his retirement, like what Zidane did have. But Jude Bellingham, if he continues this vein of form, will be there or thereabouts. He just has the right attitude, the right personality, and I do think his longevity would eventually come to the fore at the top, and yeah, consistency as well. So yeah, man, big up Jude every time.
yeah, absolutely. And again, I don't
Mm,
think it's a fair comparison at all to compare players
Mm.
from different eras, but I get what you mean, and I see the likeness in how similar they are, but also how much more elegant Zidane was and how much differently athletic Jude
Mm.
is.
Mhm.
So that's just different, eras of the game. I don't think Jude would have like it goes back to that time where Rio Ferdinand and Virgil van Dijk were
Yeah.
having a conversation about who would excel in whose era. So it's not fair to compare, but you never know who would have. You never know if Zidane would have made it out in today's game, and you'd never know if Jude would have had the kind of technical ability to really,
Mhm.
you know, be that guy.
Be that
Back
guy.
in the day.
100%. Yeah. 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 That's a very valid point. Yeah. Yeah. Um. So yeah, the two goals happened, and then they still were kind of coming on to us like they had something to prove. Salzburg, they had their half chances here and there. Um, Asensio and Rudiger, they stood tall. Um, Ceballos, man, we have to again talk about him. He's a guy that is quickly, steadily becoming undroppable, in my opinion. I was his one of his biggest detractors. I never thought that he was good enough for a side like us, and I never thought he necessarily had the game breaking pass. But slowly but surely there should be a heavy inquest into what lies ahead for the likes of Kamavinga and Chouameni, because
Hmm.
Carlo has his favorites, right? Chouameni and Kamavinga are going to be ahead of Ceballos in the pecking order, given their
Camavinga, yes. Tchouaméni, I'm still doubtful because of
mm,
how much is built up this season.
yeah. But I do think Carlo prefers Will. Bro, if this game was against City, Chouameni is starting 100%.
Yeah, then it's different. But again, if Tchouaméni doesn't perform going into that game, if he's been playing a few weeks at centre back and suddenly he's been asked to play midfield,
Mm. I don't
then
think that'll happen, but like I can see us playing a big game probably in the Bronner 16
yeah,
and uh, having to face one of the likes of I think if thing as things stand, like we would face Bayern or Liverpool. I read on Madrid Extra. So um, if the league phase
just give me a
finished today,
moment.
we
Yeah,
would. What was that?
just give me a moment. I'll be back.
Yeah. Go for it. Go for it. But so that's the thing. We'll be facing Bayern or Liverpool, and Chouameni would be definitely called back into the action if that was the case. So, Ceballos, I think, should get into the conversation where he doesn't really have to rely on, turning Carlo's gaze onto him. Like he's completely engulfed in this rich vein of form that he's in, and he's relishing this little run he's been putting together. You know, he basically had like minutes in the last 8 games consecutively. Started the last 3 games on the trot, so he's kind of building up to a momentum that would definitely give him a strong shout to be one of the front runners for a midfield position, because Fede is going to be undroppable. I don't know about the Fede situation, right? Like Fede looked decent at right back. He had an assist
He
as well,
always
but
does. He's
yeah.
more than happy to fill in. It's always the same situation where I think this is the case with in a couple of positions now for us.
Hmm.
Right back and left back are the obvious ones where we had it with Mendy and Camavinga last season. Now we have it with Vasquez and Fede, where our main first choice right back, our main first choice player in that position is obviously not fit,
Yeah.
and the second choice isn't good enough. So
Mm-hmm.
somebody from another position is being asked to play there, and turns out this guy's better than this. He's doing better than the second choice. So I don't know. Would you start Valverde still in? If we go out and play at
And
Anfield.
Fede has prior experience playing wing back. If you
Yes,
remember,
he
under
absolutely
Zidane.
does. But will you take
Mm.
him away from that midfield, especially now with Ceballos feeling more and more confident that because Fede is
It's
always he's always able to contribute in midfield regardless of where he is playing.
mm,
Like I'm sure even if he does playing play at centre back, he will still fill those pockets in midfield, and he is responsible enough to know when to push up and when to hold his position. I don't doubt that. But do you think
I'll be
Haaland is for it?
I- I'll be very honest. Yeah, like the average person would think Fede can't be really taken out of the equation in midfield, but we'll have to judge this on a game by game basis, and basically take this probably into March and then decide, because Lucas Vasquez is a huge liability. I love the guy. He can come on in games and make a huge impact,
Exactly.
especially out wide. If he's deployed out, like I really can't put my trust on Endrick to come on and change the game yet. Obviously, he might get a stroke of luck and really decide the game all by himself. But he's just too erratic and is very very keen to impress. So his head
In the right
not
place, yeah.
necessarily might be in the in the right place like you mentioned. But Vasquez for sure, if we need a game changer, especially in the final third, he can do a job. So Fede, I think, can do a brilliant job at right back and give us that platform to be a little safe.
Right.
Because playing Vasquez really doubles the anxiety, triples the anxiety of our centre backs and goalkeeper. So it is something that we should ponder upon. But
Also,
what I
Sumit,
would
going
mention.
back to Sarayos, actually, one question. Like, obviously,
Mhm.
we've never seen this guy perform consistently at this level, before,
Yeah, yeah.
because he's never
Mm,
played consistently at this level.
mm, mm.
So do you think this is just a peak that will round off and then he moves back to what his levels used to be, or do you think he manages to sustain this at least till the end of the season? Because then we're talking about a different question: does he stay in the team or not, right? Or does he play
Mm,
that position or not?
mm.
So, what do you think? Which of the two it is it?
I do think he's a very capable player. He can, like, I did mention this in the group. I don't know if you remember seeing that. I did mention it into in the group chat. Jake was mentioning that Dennis Ceballos really has the skill set, but his teammates doesn't really trust his passing ability. At times, which I do think happens. Yeah, because he's not the um he's not part of the normal equation on every
Yeah,
match day, so it takes a bit of time getting used to what someone is going to do, right? It's natural. But I do think this is a peak, definitely a peak. Whether it you know fizzles out, it's entirely on him and how he grabs this very very big chance. Let's be honest, bar Modric, we don't have someone who could really be that orchestrator at this moment in time. And Ceballos is perfectly slotting into a position that is vacant at this moment in time. And if he really capitalizes on this, he might be rewarded with a starting berth indefinitely. And
yeah.
depending on Gonzalez.
No. I was saying, yeah. Who knows? I mean, that could be a
Mm,
possible. You
mm,
never know.
yeah.
Because
And going into next season, he would need all the backing that he requires, because let's not kid ourselves. Like, he was 22, 23. When he joined us, 24, I think. So now he's getting into that age where midfielders kind of have a lot of uh you know uh mature uh outlook on how the game is played, and he is looking like he's getting there very quick. So uh, you know the temperament that he has, and the way he basically brings calm to a side that was very erratic and chaotic is going to be key, man, if we're going to win something major this season. um
yeah,
but
I
yeah, the
can't
jury is
imagine
still out
that.
on Sabah.
I can't imagine we're saying this. That Tobias is
Mm,
going to be key to us winning some trophy this season. Like 2 seasons ago, we would never have
yeah,
imagined saying this, because then we were having conversations about, is he going to stay or is he going to go? Is these
yeah.
next matches are going to be the difference between him staying and him being on the bench next season, or him leaving?
Mm, mm,
Now we're talking about a different question entirely. Like, Could he be
I'm
starting?
being, I still am being incredibly hopeful. Like I'm
Yes.
starting to really like the guy, and I'm really being hopeful that he would put on, performances of this kind against a
Yeah.
top tier opposition, and then put this argument to rest, because I'm yet to see that. He should
And
start
the
against
fans
one of
clearly
the
have a
big
soft spot for
boys.
him, don't they?
Nowadays, yeah, 100%, 100%. They just have completely taken to him. It seems like, and rightfully so. He hasn't really put a foot wrong this season. One of our standout performers. So yeah, one big game. That's all that is needed to uh, put this into writing, basically. But yeah, when big up Ceballos, big up. Right. Third goal, Mbappe. Right, Mbappe doing a Benzema. You touched upon it lightly earlier, but I do think it has, again, like you mentioned it earlier. There is a clear progression, clear transformation in the attitude, in the desire, in his overall uh, assertion into what is happening on the pitch. Mbappe in his early days with us used to look like, he relied on others to basically do the dirty work, and if things weren't really going for him, he looked to hide and never really had his shoulders out. And you could clearly see the moment he won the ball, he just knew, yeah, like this is what I ran the hard yards for. That's what I worked so hard for, and I got it. So
Oh,
he looked really pleased. It wasn't a smirk of, oh yeah, like I was too clever to pull that off. It was
yeah.
almost like, yeah, like I worked for it.
Because it's
So
almost the first time he's actually pulled that off in his entire
mm.
career. I don't think he's ever been part of a team where that has
Yeah,
been asked of him.
things
Where
Madrid does to an average guy. Yeah, it happens, man. Sahib.
exactly, even at
Yeah.
PSG, I don't think there was ever the
Mm,
the extra onus of pressing the opposition defenders or the goalkeepers.
mm, mm.
I don't think that's a normal thing in the French league, and even in the
Yeah,
European games or in
yeah.
with France at the World Cup or the Euros or whatever. He was always very static off the ball, and that was allowed of him
Mm,
because the coach
mm,
obviously thought that his abilities
mm,
were going to better
mm.
come into use, which is also
Yeah,
understandable, but that's not how it works at Madrid. These guys have all,
100%.
learned how.
Yeah, yeah.
These
I,
guys have all
I
learned.
completely get it.
Yeah, they've all learned how to fit in and be in sync with the press or being in shape, whatever it means to give to that. So, I think Benzema did it incredibly well in his playing days for us.
Hmm.
uh, like he would chase every loose ball and every extra touch that the opposition defenders took, and he would always be on. He would
Yeah.
always make sure that they were on their toes. It was almost a mental thing,
Hmm.
and I don't see Mbappe transforming into that sort of a presser, but
Yeah.
he
But
could
I'll be
have,
very.
yeah, he could have a hint of that to him because that goal was just is a shade of Benzema. And if we want Mbappe to reach anywhere near
Mm,
what Benzema was to us, as complete
mm.
a forward as a striker
Yeah.
as Benzema was to us,
Yeah.
then these are exactly the kind of attributes and the kinds of traits that he will have to develop even now at 24, 25,
Mm.
through with his progression as a footballer.
100%. I mean, Benzema was the trigger of our press, and he basically used to be the guy who used to rally the troops, and then try to close people down. And in games, tactics and all, yeah, it really looks good on the whiteboard, and you can spend years preaching it, and basically drilling hours of video footage into USB drives, and playing it back and forth. You can do all that, but once you get a player to completely buy into taking a given phase in the game, right, and exert, make that someone exert himself completely for the sake of the team. That's when that's when you can completely uh, transform a side that was looking like it needed some sort of injection of character. up top.
Yeah.
Vinny used to basically stroll around. Mbappe used to stroll around. They used to both look at each other and be like, "Oh, you know what? Like maybe you should run." And the other would go, "Oh, you know what? Like I think I ran a couple of minutes back. I think it's your turn." So that used to be the vibe I used to get, 3-4 months back, and it was very subtle. It wasn't really on the nose, and it happens. These guys are top dogs in probably the biggest. I mean, literally the biggest club of the world. So, Mbappe doing this is, I'm telling you, Carlo, we used to question it, and some people used to say it, and I used to be like, Carlo is losing the plot, he is losing the dressing room. But this is the biggest indication that people are really playing for him, and they're ready to die on the pitch for him. So super happy, super happy.
Yeah,
Big up
exactly.
Mbappe, man.
And like you mentioned, Sunil, I think it's great that it paid off this time, and it's great that he had instant reward for it, but it's not always
Yeah,
going to be the case.
yeah,
And just a couple of games ago, when we had that clashing against Barca,
mm,
Mbappe was still running around, and
yeah,
obviously
yeah, yeah.
didn't get a reward for it that game. And that
Mm,
was one of
mm,
the few things that Ancelotti probably saw and praised him for after the game. Uh,
100%. Mm,
but again, he's not always going to get the reward for it, but
yeah,
he's always going to have to try. And that's exactly the kind of, I mean, I know it was a 3-0 today, but,
mm,
and we were already, we already
yeah,
dominated the game. But if that sort of
yeah,
thing happens and we get a goal out of it when we're
mm,
1-0 down or 2-0 down in game, and we're
yeah,
desperately searching for inspiration from a guy like Mbappe. So
mm,
have
mm,
someone like him lead from the front and create something out of nothing, or,
yeah.
even chasing on the ball like that. For him to do that against a big team would really, really send a statement out. But even this isn't anything less than that, I don't think.
Mm. I mean, people who he look up to, the Benzemas, the Andres,
Yeah,
like if he takes the time out of his day to actually watch how they were at their peak, they would realize they used to walk their socks off. They used to literally get run ragged, chasing lost causes day in, day out. I
true.
mean, it is a lot to do with the psychological aspect of how defenders try to ensure that there is some sort of uh, composure. They're the ones that breathes in the confidence for the midfielders, and then the second phase and the third phase to excel. So um, if they are basically harried into losing possession, that just sets up a domino effect that breathes through the side and effectively sets your team into a position where you take the psychological edge. So yeah, man. Mbappe might not be the most skilled defender. He might not be the most skilled tackler, but him pressing you, I mean, I can just imagine, the defender
Because he's
that
quick.
is being, yeah, defender
And
is
you've
being
just
pressed
come
by
after
him. Mm,
halftime interval, and you're still
yeah,
getting through your motions,
yeah.
uh, and a guy as fast as Mbappe is chasing you down. So I mean,
Hmm.
you've got reason to be worried.
There you go. There you go. I mean, we should take up our coaching by this side. We are better than we give ourselves credit for, right? But talk to me about Luka Modric, man. Wasn't really a game that would allow him to be at his you know like imperial best. But
Mm.
you just look at him. He's 40, right? His desire to win back possession. The amount of yards he cover on a consistent basis.
Yeah,
Like we mentioned earlier, chasing lost causes. Luka Modric is everywhere. He's just trying to win back the ball as soon as possible, and that's such an underrated aspect of what makes Luka tick. If you look at his worksman like intent to press lost causes, you just wonder, oh, does he really have the wizardry that people talk about, or the ones that we have seen over the years? Has he lost it? Because he still runs like he ran 10-15 years ago. That to me just is that's an example that really does impact a lot of the people that is looking up to him, the
yeah.
Jude, the Chouamani's, the Kamavingas. So yeah, man, the pass is just cherry on icing on the cake. It just is something that Luca does every now and then. But what he brings to the side when he starts, and the kind of form that he is in right now, and throughout most parts of the season, Luka Modric, in my opinion, has looked really, really good. like he is rolling back the years a bit.
Yeah, and I mean we've discussed this before with his workload you've got to manage at 40, but
Yeah.
so uh, so with that sort of thing, you've always got to calculate, ahead
Yeah.
which games he
Yeah.
plays and which games he takes no part in. So I think this game
Hmm.
it wasn't perfect, but he's always going to start a Champions League night, and that's almost tradition at this point because he is one of the more experienced veterans in the side, and that clearly goes to show, right? Even in the first 10-12 minutes where we kind of suffered,
Yeah.
he was the one winning back possession. He was the one asking his teammates to keep the ball for longer. And then when we score the first, second goal, we sort of go in and have a more relaxed approach to the game. So I think his body language also as the orchestrator, along with Ceballos,
Hmm.
uh, also affects how the team looks at the game a lot more. Like it used to. I mean, back in the days it was all Cruz, but
Yeah.
somebody's got to take that role, right? So I think Luka does that incredibly effectively, and even that one pass that he played to Mbappe in that first half, around the 18th to 19th minute mark,
Oh yeah.
killer pass, man. I mean, he still got it at this age to run around so much and still be able to show the sort of wizardry that comes along with it. He is simply the complete package. And even at 40, I mean, you would
Mm.
consider renewing him after performances like that because it's more
Yeah.
than it's it's work ethic, it's wizardry, it's leadership,
Yeah.
right? It's loyalty. What more do you want in a player?
I mean, defying father time. The people who used to be his age,
Yeah.
the way their careers went, post 35, post 36. We all know, the Gerrards, the Lampards, the Iniestas, the Xavis. They just called it a day, man. They just thought, this is it. This is as much as what my body could take. But he's still here, still fighting. I hope he stays another year at this rate. I'll be very honest. If
Yeah.
he actually, I know it's very probable. I'll be very, very honest. If we win a major title and him has, he has a vital say in it, I do think he gets another year of extension. I do still
Easily.
truly believe that
He's
the
this
club.
point, he's not just a veteran player, right? He's sort of this mentor who's
Yeah.
helping transition all these young guys into the team. Guys like
Mm.
Arda,
Yeah.
guys like Hendrik who need inspiration, who need somebody to look up to. And there's just
Mm.
you've got a readily available 40-year-old who's more than willing to give you minutes on the pitch, who's more than fit enough to play those minutes, with
Yeah.
sufficient effectiveness. So I think it's a no-brainer if this continues to be the trend. And I think Ancelotti, for credit to him, he's actually managing Modric's minutes really well because it's easy
Yeah.
to sort of upset the player also by not playing him
Hmm.
enough.
Yeah.
But also, if you overplay him, even by the slightest of margins, then you can't really use him where you really need him.
Yeah.
So I think a game like tonight where he could easily, I think he stretched out the entire 90 minutes and he didn't. I don't think he was taken off, Modric. Was he? He wasn't,
I,
right?
ca- I can't I can't recall. I don't
I
think
don't think
so. I
Modric
don't
was
think so.
taken off.
I don't think
So
so. Yeah.
so yeah, you
Mm.
can afford to give him minutes in a game like this,
Mm. Mm.
uh, which is important. And then when you go back to the league, you have more intense games. You can maybe bring him off the bench. You can opt for guys like Arving or Ceballos to start, and that's perfectly sensible, I think.
100%. And I'll also add to the fact that he is a huge dressing room presence, and losing
Exactly.
him is basically the end of the
He's a
last.
mentor.
Yeah, he like losing him is basically the glorious 2016 to 18 three-peat era being done and dusted apart from Carvajal. And Carvajal, necessarily isn't the guy, that breeds the same sort of, leadership values. I think that Luka does, in many ways. Um, I know some people would scoff at that, but I do truly believe that people would look up Luka better than they would do to, Danny Carvajal. So,
Yeah.
um,
We,
keeping him.
the pass for Vinny's
Yeah.
goal, our fourth goal, was also Modric's assist, right?
It
I
was
think
for the it was for the it was for the 4-0, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
when he cuts in.
Yes. That he basically sets Winnie up, and
Right,
Winnie
right,
does
right.
the rest.
Exactly.
And even for the fifth goal, I believe, I think Modric basically plays the pass that sets Brahim up, and then Brahim
But
plays into Fede
right, and
for
then Fede
Vinny's.
plays for Penny, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it'll be the best interest of the club to keep his services for another year, 100%.
Yeah, then it's just
Vinicius,
up to him after that.
what was that, sir?
I think beyond that, it's up to the player himself. I think if he decides to call it a day, then you can't really do much about that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I,
but yeah,
I
I
get
mean,
it. I get it. I
even
get it.
and the thing about what you said, right? If we're
Mhm.
incredibly successful this season and all of that,
Yeah.
then renewing him would make sense. But also for the player, would it not make sense to call it a day if we are incredibly successful to go out on a high?
Cruz called it a day because he's German, and I do believe Luka Modric wasted 3-4 years at Spurs, whereas Cruz was still winning stuff,
Right.
winning the World Cup, winning with Bayern. So I do think Luka has to kind of still, you know, do a bit of catching up in his mind. I do think that is a huge
Fair enough.
factor why he's still,
Fair enough.
you know,
I just think it might play to
yeah,
the reverse psychology though, if we are
yeah,
to win everything.
100%, 100%. Yeah, about the background noise, people just pair with Sahil. Sahil's batchmates are having a little party, but hope it isn't much of an inconvenience. But yeah, Vinicius 100 Real Madrid goals, brilliant as always. Fourth consecutive Champions League game on the score sheet. Seven, Champions League goals in 7 games this season. He is just looking like that person that really wants to again define the glitterati, the paparazzi, the so-called journos that decide the biggest sports award, the biggest football award in the world, and it is looking like he has taken it upon himself to win it. Single-handedly. He had a lot of humility when he said that like Mbappe is here and we're gonna help. We're gonna do our maximum to make sure that he becomes top scorer and whatnot. So, but I do hope he doesn't lose the uh, the prize. I'm all for the team trophies, but I also want what he rightfully thinks and we rightfully think is his to basically come back home. Vinicius, man, again, top of his game, unplayable.
Yeah, and that side of it is pretty out there for everybody to see. But also, I think the antics have sort of gone down in the past few weeks. I don't know if it's just been me who's noticed that, but
Mm.
it's obviously the case of him focusing. I mean, ever since the red card that what was it, at Valencia or something? No, where
Valencia,
was that?
Valencia.
Yeah, it was at Valencia. So ever since that, I think the past couple of games where he's played, he's sort of toned it down a little bit. Obviously, it's a very small sample size,
Mm.
and you would hope that that sort of thing continues because every time he's not among controversy, it could also be a case of we've not played the kinds of teams that want to provoke him.
Hmm.
Um, but every time he is away from the controversy, his game obviously speaks for itself, and then there's actually no debate as to whether or not he is the best player in the world, or at least among the conversation for that among the Rafinhas and the Salahs at the moment. But for one reason or another, people just aren't speaking about him enough.
Yeah,
Where they are about Salah and Rafinha, but I think that's just the after effects of having this one outstanding season where
yeah.
and then you and then you go and do another outstanding season, but people don't talk about it as much because
Mm.
I don't know, right? People
It's
just
it's
don't talk about it.
because it's sort of become the norm, Sahil. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just hope that doesn't happen. If he
Mm.
does end up doing, you know,
Mm.
breathtaking numbers come the end of the season. But if the team collectively decide that Mbappe is the guy they want to push for that award next year, then so be it. And like you said, humility-wise, I'm sure Vinicius is more than happy to contribute to that.
Family FC is definitely thriving though, Sahil, right? Like I expected a lot more, a
Family
lot
FC
more.
stocks are at an all-time high.
Like I'm really really happy because I used to have my fears about Mbappe and whatnot, but slowly but surely it's being put to bed as we speak. We saw it against Las Palmas, the way Mbappe was trying to set people up left, right, and center. I'm really really humbled by all this, and I've always mentioned this. Like if you if you actually serve me the humble pie, I'm well and truly ready to gobble it up, because um, we are here to point stuff out, and if the players and what we see, it basically gets corrected, and it has a turn of it has turned a new leaf. Like we are all here to completely revel in it, and um, yeah, basically just correct people. The outsiders looking in, they see a lot of ego. They see a bunch of people who are entitled, a bunch of kids who are whiny, who are mourning about the little things in life. So we can tell them, what, you're wrong after all, right?
Yeah.
um
100 Real
so
Madrid goals, by the way, did you say? Oh,
yeah,
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 he was
yeah,
signaling. So,
yeah,
in
yeah.
what, 6.5 seasons? Not bad.
Not bad, not bad,
Yeah.
not bad.
Mbappe also reached some sort of milestone, if I'm not wrong.
350th career goal or something.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Winnie man of the match. Mbappe had a goal. Wasn't Mbappe's best game, but still, he worked hard. He worked hard. Asensio, decent game. Played it right back towards the
Played it right
end.
back, yeah, last 2 minutes. I was going to mention. Didn't look entirely comfortable,
Yeah.
but he clearly can put in a shift. Like, I'd much rather
Hmm.
have him than Militao. Militao looks very rigid when he's at right back.
Yeah.
So whenever Militao does come back, obviously that's a long time away. But yeah, just putting it out there.
Mm.
So if Val
Another
is
20
will be in
minutes.
contention for right back, then who knows? Yeah.
100%. Another 20 minutes for Alaba as well. So, super nice to see that.
Yeah.
He's slowly
Honestly.
racking in the
It's just
minutes.
consolidation now for him, game after game, to take it one substitute appearance at a time, and then see how
Yeah.
that goes. Go in another game, see how that goes. Eventually, he'll obviously feel at a good level physically.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's when we'll be ready to have him, I think, and back in the starting 11, which I think should be a few weeks from now. But he looks
100%.
comfortable. He doesn't. He's playing all his forward passes. He's playing through balls into the final third, and he's
Yeah.
comfortable on the ball. He isn't lunging into as many tackles as he used to. Again,
Hmm.
he was never one to lunge into many tackles. He was more of his positioning that helped him. But
Yeah.
uh, yeah, that he has to be careful with that knee. So
A
fair.
slight blemish on his 20 minutes, that we couldn't keep the clean sheet. Shout out to Jacobo
Yeah,
as well,
he
Ramon.
got beaten. He got beaten there, and then
Mm.
I think it was Ramon whose man, the guy he was marking, put it in,
Yeah, yeah.
the young defender.
Hmm.
So I mean, a 5 mil you can afford, but again, I would have wished for a clean sheet, especially with
100%.
Alaba and Ramon on the pitch.
100%. I mean, people talk very highly of Jacobo Ramon, and
Yeah.
he was supposedly the better. He has apparently a higher ceiling than the likes of Asensio. So,
Mm.
exciting times, especially if the market strategy is to basically hunt for midfielders and attackers, and basically rely on the Fabrica for defenders. I'm all
I
for
don't
it, man.
mind it.
All
Yeah.
for it. Mm, all for it.
Yeah, it's just then you're going to
Yeah.
see a lot more midfielders and wingers turn to fullbacks and centre backs in the
Mm,
academy. Or like,
mm,
oh, I
mm.
can also play centre back.
I'm not sure if that's going to be as easy as that sounds, but I do get,
I mean,
there
it's
would be
gone
a,
with a couple players back in the day when Zidane was
yeah.
there.
Mm,
Uh,
mm,
I think the names being taken at the time were
Peter Federico, I
Yeah,
remember.
Marvin Park, Peter Federico, Antonio
Yeah.
Blanco. All of these guys were more than happy to fill in when needed.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised actually.
100%. 100%. Right. Let's get into a few of the comments. Pick up people
Sure,
in the
sure.
chat. Ashik was mentioning defense is not at the level of Champions League football currently, but the result was needed. Um, right. Rodrigo decided to show up today. All of the front three scored. Well done. And City lost. Pep getting found out. Yes, City is looking like they're in shallow waters. Um, Also, he was mentioning so during the watch along, you raised some concerns about Salzburg getting through and getting too many open looks. That is a concern against bigger teams. I mean, uh, that has happened to Carlos' best sides. Even at at his pomp with us, we have looked even with prime Ramos, Varane, Pepe, you name it. We looked like conceding. Every time some of the better teams, so-called
We
better
never
teams
did have a
broke.
stable defense in the Champions League.
Yeah, yeah. So I wasn't surprised, but yeah, it's while watching it, obviously, you losing your shit. I mean, I can't blame you. I can't blame myself to think that way. Because you want your team to succeed, you want your team to survive. But yeah, watching it unfold, not necessarily comfortable watch, is it?
Yeah.
Um, she was also mentioning we can still get into a top eight, but things have to fall into our favor. I would try and rack up the goals and not give away any. GD may play a big part at the end. But rest away is going to be an interesting fixture. They lost against Shakhtar Donetsk today, I think 2 or 3 or something. But they're already through into the playoffs, so their motivation might not be exactly there. But Madrid coming into town, they would have something to say for sure. So we
Right, right.
shouldn't take it for granted
Exactly.
that
No,
game.
not,
Mm, mm.
especially not this season. Not with
Yeah.
French teams away. Nothing is a given.
PSG, man, holy shit. The way those guys turned it on against City, I was surprised, because it was nil-nil at halftime. And um, when, the CBS coverage kind of, switched from our game into their game, they were kind of
Right, right.
reviewing a VAR decision. And I thought, okay, they were reviewing the 3-2 decision, but apparently it was 4-2, to finish off the game.
Okay.
Yeah, PSG on a roll. Um, But yeah, Brian Samuel, big up Brian, he was mentioning what kept us from playing like that, like playing like this. What kept us from playing like this at the beginning of the season, big up Brian. Um, the loss of Cruz, an integral part of what made our team so successful last year, and losing guys like Nacho at the back, having a major injury concern with both Carvajal, the world's best right back, and probably one of the best young defenders out there in Militao getting injured, relatively close to each other. Relatively, time wise, relatively close together, and that completely derailed our confidence, and the sort of stability a team that is relying on the back to bail them out in games. You need that. um
Oh, and also
right.
the manager's job
Hmm.
wasn't on the line every defeat at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, yeah,
That makes
there was a
sense.
lot of credit in the bank, right?
Yeah.
Hmm. Ashok was mentioning, don't forget Rodrigo's work rate, defensive work rate. I think the issue is with the consistency of Rodrigo's offensive output in recent times, which hasn't lived up to the player he is. Right, that's a fair criticism. Brian was also mentioning Rodrigo, my first call as a fan, my favorite player. Yeah, I think Brian had his baptism in the watch along. So big up yourself. You're in for a ride. Um, it won't be easy supporting us. I mean, it might look like we win the most trophies, but the manner in which we win it isn't for the faint of heart. So
Yes. Get yourself
don't tell me
some heart pills and yeah,
the BP
join
machine,
along.
right?
Join along. Yeah.
Um, Right. Asha was mentioning Rodrigo messed up by letting us know how good he can be early in his career, and now we know what he can do, but he isn't consistent. Hasn't been, but today he played well. Right. Vinny's going to miss the weekend and the UCL game. Vinny's clearly what? Did Vinny get a yellow card? No, right? Because he was one yellow from suspension. I don't think he got one.
I doubt
Did he?
it. No, he didn't.
No, I don't think he did. Right. Ashik was mentioning Mbappe was having a piss poor season and still is 4 goals shy of Lewandowski for the Pichichi. Imagine if he was having a great season. It must be a Javier Tebas conspiracy. Right. Ashik was mentioning can't compare Jude and Zizou. Zizou was technically way better, but the way we play with Zizou in lineup is different from how we play today with Jude. Hard to compare players from two eras. Yeah, you were there, Ashik. So yeah, you know better. But I was just stating my opinion. Ashik was mentioning Sebastian is now mini Cruz. He is becoming poor man's Tony Cruz. Right. If this game is against Barca, then Chouameni starting in centre back. Ashik was pointing it out. Big up Flameboy. He was mentioning I still have 1% hope we might make into the playoffs. I think you're being funny. Probably I don't know, sarcastic. Not sure. We are definitely making the playoffs. We just need to have an easier tie in the playoffs to make sure that we don't head into Feb thinking, oh, you know what, we have to basically
I think
play.
he means top 8.
Oh, top 8, right?
I think he means
Right.
top 8. I don't think he typed it out, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, probably that.
Terminology is a bit different now.
Yeah.
The new format.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You have a point.
Playoffs, knockout.
Right. When Vinny got a yellow today for complaining. Are you joking, Ashik? Holy shit! When?
Wait,
When though?
it's covered. Like, why was he complaining at 5-0? I just praised him for not doing that.
I have no idea. I'm not sure if that's even because people will be making a fuss about it. I didn't see anything online. I'm not sure.
No.
Please confirm it for us, Ashik, and the people tuning in. 42nd minute, apparently. Wait, what? Maybe my memory is completely all over the place. But Ashik is being a little too precise with the details, so probably he's right. If that's the case, holy shit, man! You had one job, man. But oh well, at this point what you're getting with Vinny. Big up Madrid Extra. I see the stat. They say, as per Opta analyst, Madrid have a 2.9% chance of making the top 8. That isn't really high numbers, is it? I hope things fall into our favor and we can avoid an extra 2 games. I mean, I wouldn't mind if it's against Club Brugge and whatnot. The trip would definitely fatigue the players and whatnot. But yeah, completely avoiding that would be great, especially with Copa del Rey looking like a achievable target this year.
Which is the whatever this is called knockout? No,
Yeah.
what is it called? Playoffs.
Yeah.
So playoffs is 2-legged also.
Yeah, home and away.
Why can't they just make it one of
because
whoever's home
then
is higher position in the table? Yeah.
Then the big dogs might
incentive.
get knocked out. That's why, sire.
I mean,
if it's a one-legged affair, there is a strong chance. A big team might get knocked out and they lose a lot of money, Sahil. This way everybody wins. The house wins.
Maybe, yeah. But again, it makes for a more unpredictable tournament. I mean, if you're a big team, then you should finish higher than the other teams. And I think that's a good way to incentivize finishing higher among the 9 to 24.
The incentive when you finish 9 to 24 is the fact that you get to play the second leg at home.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the incentive, and I do think that is a big incentive, and I hope we get that luxury of playing the second leg at home. Yeah, Ashik agrees with me. He says the 2-legged affair makes you more money, more games, more money, right? Yeah, bigger people in the chat.
He's just spitting it out as a fact.
What do you mean, sir?
As in, do you also agree that more games I mean, they should just have more games for the sake of having more games because it generates.
I mean, we don't really comply. I mean, there's no other way but to comply and watch these games, and like we can't really do anything. I mean, there's a reason why Florentino wants the Super League, right? Because he thinks that the fixture list and whatever is basically prepared to please the investors, prepared to please the moneymakers. But yeah, man. I'm a common man. There's a limit to how much I can influence. Okay, like I can control things here at LBR Sahel, but at UEFA, give me a couple of years. Maybe I can move a few pieces here and there. But talk to me, Sahel. Final thoughts.
I mean, where do we go from here, right? We've got a via the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, away.
Yeah, via the league away.
Mm.
So obviously is that league or Copa del Rey? Sorry, I'm a bit out of.
It's in the league. It's in the league. Copa del Rey is gonna be midweek.
Okay, right. So Valladolid and then we're in Copa del Rey.
It's Valladolid and then we travel to Brest.
It's no Copa del Rey. It's straight to Brest. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the 2.8% chance is barely anything. It's very minimal. So I don't think we're getting it, but we still have to give in everything to win against Brest.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's going to be a difficult trip. Like no matter how done and dusted Brest's position in the top 8 or whatever it is, they still want to put in a solid performance against Real Madrid. If Real Madrid are coming to France to play that game. So for us, it's basically like a final, which I am sure Ancelotti will encourage his players to approach it as I'm sure you did today, which is why again we won final. Because the scoreline was going to be so important. It didn't end up being that important, but it could have been. So and we can't really whine about other fixtures because that's just how it is. But this is the new format playing out, and it's the first time we're seeing it in motion actually. So I don't think Salzburg put up anything of a fight. I think except the first 15 minutes and then the last 5 or 6. There wasn't really much in the game. It was just another opportunity for our forwards to put on a show, and obviously the rest of the team was solid as well. But those three will obviously have much of the limelight. But yeah, overall, it's different players got to play out different positions. Vinicius got his goal, Mbappe got his goal in a weird way, and Rodrigo got his limelight as well. Alaba got a few minutes, so I think it's a win-win for everybody in the end, except Salzburg. So yeah, can't complain, man.
Can't complain 100%. This is something that we all wanted, right? The big three to click, the big three to be playing like the BBC.
We were ruthless in the way we won, so
the comparisons are always going to be there.
Exactly. And there's very little that you can pick out and say, okay, this didn't go our way today. But yeah, apart from that.
100%. So, the confidence aspect of this performance is going to be huge. The impact it's going to be heading into next week.
Yellow carded, if that's true.
Yeah. We would get more news on it 100% across Twitter in the next few days because it's going to be a talking point before Brest. But yeah, Ashik is very obsessed with the Brest joke, man. Come on, like I have no idea why you idolize Henry in that regard so much. I mean, was it Henry? Yeah, it was Henry. But also, by the way, Mbappe overtook Henry as the second highest Frenchman in terms of Champions League goals. He's only behind apparently Benzema. So, and I think Modric also is like 10 wins away from being the Champions League player with most. I mean, the player with the most Champions League wins. So he is on 80.
He get that this season. He'll have 9 more this season.
Okay, let's not jinx it, Sahil. Okay, let's not jinx it. Okay, if things go our way, right?
Yeah, maximum of 9.
I know. Like we don't do that here, Sahil. We don't talk about anything like that, until we are there. Even then, I'm very pessimistic. So, yeah, just bear with me, until June. After June, man, we're gonna throw a party if we do get it, and if we do win the Champions League, it's gonna be huge. Um, but yeah, until next time, I think it's pretty much it. People, big up our sponsors. As always, Manscaped, go check them out. It'll be at 20, you get 20% off and free shipping on manscaped.com. Go show some love to Fanatics. Go show some love to Talksport Fan Network, powered by the fans. Also, much love for all the support, especially our audio listeners that have shown us over the years for being our backbone, for giving us positive and negative feedback, for always being a part of a journey constantly, even though you guys aren't necessarily here every day and night. Like people have really told me, it isn't easy because it's late night. The Premier League game times, the late night for the Premier League games is a bit more manageable for most people. But the La Liga and the Champions League games is a bit of a tricky time to navigate, especially if you have work the next day and whatnot. So I really appreciate all the love that you guys have shown us. When you tell us, we accompany you on night drives, on gym routines while you're cooking and whatnot. It's really it's an absolute pleasure to keep you guys company, and basically just talk about what we all love so much and so dearly. Um, but yeah, like what Marcus was mentioning. Ala Madrid. I'm not sure if Marcus, it was Marcus, our old Marcus, Marcus Galactico. Big up Marcus as always, man. Thanks for supporting Doris as well on the watch along. Show some love. There'll be fan cams as well on the way from Sid and the boys in Madrid. They'll be speaking to fans and kind of judging where's the pulse at. Going into February, and we have a huge Feb coming up, especially with the derby, probably a 6-pointer atop La Liga, February the 8th, I think. And we have the Copa del Rey against Leganes, also sandwiched in between that as well. But yeah, it's non-stop. The fixture list never ceases, right? Until next time, people. Ala Madrid.
Real Madrid, guys.